Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Raw. I am your host, Chris Crutchman, and this is my very first review of Impact Wrestling. And I must say, I did fall off the product just a little bit, maybe for like the last month, but I'm back on board now, and I'm going to continue to review this show every single week. And tonight we had a very up and down show. By the way, I want to remind you real quick, if you are watching me for the first time, please do hit that subscribe button if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, please do hit that subscribe button as well. So, with that being said, let's get into this episode of Impact Wrestling. Like I said, it was a very up and down show. One thing I liked about this show is that it focused on the wrestling more than it did the promos. I mean, I think we only had, one promo, and that was from EC3, and it was a very, very short promo. So, we're going to get into the show. Started off with an EC3 promo. I must say, heel EC3 is fantastic. And if you didn't know already, EC3 is, for now, the number one contender for Bobby Lashley's TNA Championship at Slammiversary. That may change by the end of the night. But basically, to tell you a little bit about EC3's promo, he had his barbershop quartet out there, and they were singing his theme song. And then EC3 told them to shut up, and then told them to sing a song about him being the number one contender. And they repeated number one contender over and over and over again until, I'm going to call them, the Impact Wrestling Authority came out. Well, actually, El Patron came out first, and then the Impact Authority came out and made a match for later in the night, a steel cage match for the GFW Championship, and whoever won the match is the number one contender and is the GFW champion going into Slammiversary. And I think that that's the best way to hype up Slammiversary, a champion versus champion match for the Impact World Championship. And hopefully they also put the GFW Championship on the line as well. Right now, I don't see anybody who should take the title off Bobby Lashley. And I think that with the depleted roster that Impact has right now, I think they need a big match, a champion versus champion match, to really hype up Slammiversary. Because right now, there is really no hype behind the pay-per-view. Like I said, they're in a rebuilding stage. They're like a baseball team. They're like a basketball team. They're like my Philadelphia 76ers. They're in a rebuilding stage right now. The roster is depleted. Not saying that talent isn't going to start coming in, but for the moment, the roster is depleted. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. I like this stipulation that Pritchard set up for the GF title match. If Patron wins, obviously, he keeps his belt and is the number one contender going into Slammiversary, like I said. And obviously, we're going to find out later on in the night who is the number one contender. We then have Eli Drake versus Moose. I gotta say, one thing I don't like is that Josh Matthews literally during the match is hyping up his match between him and Scott Steiner versus Jeremy Borash and Joseph Park. He was hyping that match up during a grand instead of paying attention to the action in the ring and calling the action in the ring. And this is coming from somebody who actually likes Josh Matthews. I think that Josh Matthews is actually not a bad announcer or a commentator. I really don't think he's a bad commentator. Is he a little full of himself? Absolutely, but who isn't full of themselves? Eli won the first round. Moose won the second and third to retain the Impact Grand Championship. It was an okay match. I'm just not a fan of these Grand Championship match formats. I'm just not. I think they really need to change it because it's just so hard to gain any momentum when you have only 3 rounds and every round is 3 minutes each. It's just hard to gain momentum in a match and get me invested in a match when I know it's going to be over in 9 minutes. So I think they need to change the format of that match or the division is going to suffer. I mean, right now their champion Moose is actually a pretty good champion. So hopefully they do something with that division that gets me excited because right now I'm not excited about the Grand Championship division whatsoever. We then go on to Allie versus Amber Nova. This match bored me to tears. I'm just not a fan of Impact's knockout division at all. I mean, Rosemary's alright. But, like I said, Impact right now is rebuilding. And some of these divisions are going to suffer. So I'm not going to really hold it against Impact at the moment. Like I said, they're rebuilding. They got a new ownership team. Whatever you think about the ownership team, they're still new. They're still getting their feet under them, and right now they're rebuilding. And I think that the Knockouts division definitely needs some rebuilding because that division to me right now is garbage. We then go on to LAX versus Veterans of War for the GFW Championship match. It was a solid match. I really liked it. Or I wouldn't say I really liked it. It was a solid match. I really like both teams. I think they both have a lot of potential. And look, LAX gets a lot of genuine heat. It's hard nowadays to get genuine heat, to get people to hate you because of you as a person in wrestling. But LAX definitely generates a lot of heel heat, and I like them as a tag team. I think I'm a little more impressed with Veterans of War, though. I like Veterans of War. I think both men have a good look, good body makeup, and I think they could be a very big tag team going on here in the future. Impact has a very solid tag team division. I'll say that. I like the two teams in this match. They have Reno Scum, they have Laredo Kim. They have a very solid tag team division. So hopefully they continue with the solid work in the tag team division because I am excited about it going forward. I like that LAX is also being built up as a dominant team because right now they have the GFW Tag Team Championships and they have the Impact Tag Team Championships. So going forward, it looks like they're going to be pushed as the big team until a babyface team at Slammiversary takes the titles from them. And that is my prediction for that. We then go on to Low Key versus Sanjay Dutt. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Low Key versus Andrew Everett for the X Division Championship. It was a pretty good match. It's just fun seeing Low Key completely outclass his opponents. It really is. Everett got absolutely no offense in. And look, Low Key versus Sanjay Dutt is really the thing that I'm looking forward to the most at Slammiversary. Right now, that is the match I'm looking at for Slammiversary because that's going to be the match for the X Division Championship at Slammiversary. It's going to be Low Key versus Sanjay Dutt. And to me, that match really does excite me. That match excites me a lot because I think both men are capable of putting on a really, really good match. We then go to the GFW Championship match, but before the match, Hornswoggle gets absolutely trashed by Rockstar Spud. I gotta say, I don't like Hornswoggle really at all. I don't like when Hornswoggle is on any wrestling show. Having him on a show eliminates any legitimacy from any angle you put him in. So I think Impact needs to stay away from Hornswoggle. Hopefully he's not on TV too much going forward. We then go on to Alberto El Patron versus EC3 in a steel cage match for the GFW Championship. It was an alright match. It was. I gotta say though, the right man won this match. Does anybody want to see another EC3 versus Bobby Lashley match? Not really. I've seen it too many times, and I don't think that was the right match for Slammiversary. To me, when I saw that EC3 won the number one contenders match, I cringed a little bit because I don't want to see that match again. And I think right now the money match for Slammiversary is Bobby Lashley versus Alberto El Patron, and I like the fact that they made that match, and I'm looking forward to it. El Patron wins this match, obviously, and is the new number one contender. And I think, like I said, that's just the right move for business for Impact. And like I said, this show was very up and down. It was very, very up and down. The highs weren't really too high, and the lows weren't really too low. So, I'm not going to give this a thumbs down. I'll give it like a thumbs in the middle, tilting towards the down, kind of like the rating I gave Raw. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'd rate it like a 6.5. And that's really it for the Impact review. And by the way, this is my new format for reviews. I want to make my reviews shorter because I feel as though nobody's going to listen to a 47 minute podcast on me talking about Raw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these reviews a lot shorter, and then when the audience starts coming in, that's when I'm going to start making these big, in-depth reviews. Because right now, I don't think it's the right time to do that, because I'm trying to attract people into the channel, and it's hard for somebody to get excited about a 47-minute podcast. So that is it for this Impact review. I'm sorry that it's up late. I was at the movie theater seeing Wonder Woman, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it already, which odds are you haven't, because it's probably Friday morning when you're listening to this, it's a really good movie. I recommend it for anybody who is skeptical of the DC cinematic universe. I am a DC fan myself, so I really enjoyed this movie, not because I was a DC fan, just because it was just a really good movie. So with that being said, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if this is your first time watching, or if you're a returning watcher and you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Come on, hit that subscribe button. iTunes, same thing, hit that subscribe button and leave me a review. It would be much appreciated, and thank you for listening.